All right, good afternoon. I'd like to call the Board Operations Committee meeting to order. We have a little bit of a different situation tonight, so we'll be going into closed session. So do I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing meetings, both internal, between internal or external auditors and government audit committees, finance committees, and their equivalents when discussion involves internal control weaknesses, identification of potential fraud risk areas, known or suspected frauds, and fraud interviews conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards of the United States of America, 5 ILCS 120/2C28.
Wow. So moved.
Okay. So, Fiorentino? Lamarca? Oh, well, I just put you down. So Lamarca? Zettler? Scarpino?
Aye.
Burkett, aye. McKindy? Thomas? Okay, the motion passes 5-0. We will be back shortly. We don't normally do roll call at all. This meeting, it's just because we have to go into close.
I was just curious.
Oh, I didn't do roll call.
That's what I meant.
Because I have still getting over a cold.
I think we should doctor.
I know. I'm sorry, I didn't call the roll, I did the motion.
That's what I meant.
Because it wasn't actually. No, I just. No, I just jumped right to
I thought this was operations.
It is, but this is when they do the audit.
Oh,
The
I
audit
didn't even
goes
know there
into
was a
closed
closed
session.
session in operations.
Then they'll come in and they'll start doing all of the reports.
Okay. Well, I was more interested.
The only one that does this.
I was gonna say, I don't ever remember a closed session. They might be talking about yourself. Nice. Like, either they're talking, they might be talking about that. Speaking of men's volleyball, there's
Coming up? Coming up?
Oh, no.
He can tell you.
Now you want the other guys. They're done now. The 10 was over. It was too funny. I was like, because I saw him and I'm like, oh. And somebody said, who's this guy? I don't want to talk about men's volleyball. I had to know, like,
Not being able to read the room. There's like 100 years of this.
It's, I mean, it's like another push on my laws. We don't have any high school that's got this best years. It's like, none of the high schools have high school, obviously, because we're not in Canada. And so it's like, listen, if you do it, but it's always gonna be this offsite. You have like 4 of them, because that's what you get to make sure, you know. Okay, I get it, but at a certain point it becomes overwhelming. Yeah, they don't, because if they pay it.
That's what it is.
Right, right. That's one of the things that, like, they used to yeah, exactly. Right, well, that's exactly it, like, there could be. Good stuff. What are they going into?
Wow. And that's where.
I'm only representing the voices of members of 11,000.
Yeah, right, and it's.
No problem. Oh my gosh, Chad, if you read all of them, I swear, there were some that I read. Oh my gosh. I had some favorites in there too. Like some of the kids.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Is there anything else that don't catch all my? I would like some fries.
Yeah, that was a nice one. I hate you. Like, I don't like this path around, but I don't want to do it seriously. But.
Let me see what I can do for you.
Like a coach, as a man, you don't like it. You know, it's like, that would be a lot of fun. I'm like, man, you're one of my cold. But my friends, they like some subjects. It was like, did you? I'm like, I'm not very good at science. And maybe push this to a second. It was like, okay, that's much. We all love it. It was like, there's no way. There's a couple of men, she's serious. She's right. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, that's what I love about church. You're only co-ed, so you got to hang out with them. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm only with guys. For me, yeah, because you're around people like a diversity of, some of the silly guys. And it was good, challenging for me. I'm like, it wasn't like that, just whatever. Because I like really hard to practice. And then I do the open and whatever.
Nobody's gonna be happy.
Track was okay. It was fun, but it wasn't as much really. My problem with track was it was going to be low, wasn't even like mile, and it was just that much. I really liked the mile. 2 mile was just like especially in betting now is out of the way, right? But that was hysterical. With the fence, yeah. When they found him in a grocery store with chicken, that was hysterical. I called Coach. Hey, so he just lost it. It's like, you're like, yeah, what? That was funny. Every now and then you have funny ones like that. My daughter has Russell.
This entire senior year, your daughter needs to Hey, are you?
Hey. Oh,
Had selective hearing. About 100 witnesses that he didn't see.
I wish. I thought it was pretty generous for the extra month that we are getting. Yes. He said he gave you 100 gift, but didn't work over the holiday. I said he was worried that he wasn't gonna get it.
Okay, we're back with item 3.1. We'll reconvene open session. Burkett, present. Fiorentino,
Present.
Lamarca,
Present.
McKindy, Scarpino,
Present.
Thomas, Zettler.
Present.
Okay, 5 board members are present. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving on to item 5, approval of the previous meeting minutes. Those will be the meeting minutes from November 19th. Did anyone have any additions or changes to those? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along to public participation. We've had no one sign up for public participation. So that brings us to items for discussion. Item 7.1, disposal report.
Yes, the disposal report for December, I came
Any comments from anyone on that? Okay. Item 7.2, Treasurer's Report.
Good afternoon again. I just want to thank the board for their patience in our reporting process. It's been pretty challenging moving from one business ERP system to another. So we've kind of been working in between two different systems. One for the audit purpose and one for the reporting purpose, and transitioning and migrating all our data over from the one system to the new. So now that that is complete, and we've had a chance to work closer with Skyward on a lot of the reporting challenges that we were faced with. We were able to slowly catch up with the treasurer's reports. So tonight we are presenting both August and September. For August, I think you can see everything is on trend. Pretty much right, we're tracking right where we were last year. Nothing really significant to speak about. Our ending cash balance was $195 million. You can see our federal revenues were on trend at about 31%. And then at the bottom, if you notice, the tort fund had a deficit balance of about $1 million. And that's just due to the payment of district insurance premiums for workers' compensation and general liability insurance. That deficit will be covered by a loan from the working cash fund. However, that will be repaid throughout the year as we collect more taxes. So that's just an ongoing process for the loan. For September, kind of the same picture. However, our fund balance has increased, our cash balance has increased to $270 million. And this is primarily because property taxes are coming in. So we're collecting those local revenues and an increase in state revenues in September. You can see at the bottom again, the tort fund, hourly $19,388 negative versus the $1 million. So you're going to see that slowly creep up into the positive area as the year progresses. Thank you.
One of the things I did want to mention to you is that this report does include all of our audit adjustments. So those have all been completed.
Great, any comments? Any comments on the treasurer's report for board members? Okay. Thank you. Item 7.3, advertising sponsorship agreement.
Good afternoon. Per board policy 826, companies may purchase space for their advertisements in our athletic field, fences, scoreboards, or any other appropriate location, provided the advertisements are consistent with administrative procedures and approved by the Board of Education. A company called Ticket eStore would like to hang a banner and be announced during our Hinkle Holiday Tournament. They would also like to be acknowledged on our social media graphics, and that pending approval, they would be paying us $1,500 for us to hang their sign.
Do you have what the sign looks like at all?
I do not. It's just a 4x6 banner, and it just has their logo on it.
For just that one game?
It would be the contract for the banner to be, the banner will be up in the main gym for the entire school year, so December 2024 through December 2025. And they would have, during our broadcast of the varsity games, there will be a little commercial advertisement for them. There will be announcements throughout the Hinkle Holiday Tournament, just saying thank you for your sponsorship. And there'd be a temporary sign outside the gym that would then only stay up during the holiday tournament. That's it. The only thing that would remain year-long would be the sign hung up in the competition gym.
I think for future reference, it'd be nice if the board could actually see what it looks like, so we know,
Yeah,
so.
Can you make sure I receive that so we can provide that to the board?
absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. It was CDK? Is that what you said?
EK.
Ticket eStore.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So it's kind of like a company that sells tickets to any kind of professional event, Bears games, whatever it might be. But they're looking for sponsorship, they're looking to pay for their advertisements, so we're interested.
So, Tom, along those lines, when you have someone come to us through the school, who does the due diligence on that that company?
The initial vetting is done at the building level by the athletic director of building.
Okay, so you make the assumption then when it comes to you that they've looked at it's a
I
quality
will
company.
do a quick, make sure it's nothing inappropriate for school.
Right.
That the company is a real company, and something that we're not, will be offensive to anyone or inappropriate behavior.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. Obviously, we don't want the $1,500 is wonderful, but we don't want to be associated with.
We have had people that we have not brought to
Okay.
this board for approval for various other reasons.
Thank you.
We'll bring an update of this process to the board meeting next Tuesday. We'll add it to the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Item 4.7, time and materials bid.
Good afternoon. District 300 seeks contractual pricing for time and material of a multitude of trade labor categories. Bids were opened on 2 dates, Thursday, October 24th and Friday, November 15th. We had 23 vendors respond. The administration recommends awarding time and material contracts to the following contractors. All contracts are for 1 year between January 1st, 2025, December 31st, 2025. For alarms, we are recommending Renaissance Communications, Asphalt, AccuPaving, Bay and Overhead Doors Service, United Door and Dock, Concrete, JDK Services, Data Cabling, Renaissance Communications, Electrical, Ron Jones, Fence, JDK Services, Food Service Equipment, Core Mechanical, Gutters, WeatherGuard Roofing, HVAC, Core Mechanical, Landscaping, Alvarez, Plumbing, Core Mechanical, Roof Repairs, WeatherGuard Roofing, Sewer, Core Mechanical, Stadium Lighting, Ron Jones, Tree Maintenance, Trees R Us, Tuck Pointing, Mertes Contracting Company. These are for projects that we either need assistance with or are too large for us, like the stadium lighting. We do have a bucket truck, but we don't have a bucket truck that goes like 80 feet in the air. So that's what all these contracts are for. The use of the contractor services is paid out of the operations and maintenance budget fund 20.
Great, anyone have any questions or comments on that? Okay, thank you. Item 7.5, middle school year-end event contract.
Yes, this contract is for the annual 8th grade end-of-year trip to Great America. The contract is for an estimated 1,000 students. Great America is holding their price from 2014, 24, sorry. And it will be for the exact same services that we had last time. And the contract is for $59,980.
Great, does anyone have any comments or questions on that one?
Years, right?
Yeah, I can't believe it's my daughter's turn. Yeah, it says, it's partially paid by the students, right, with the $38.99 ticket amount, is that? Or no, sorry, $59.98.
Yes, and if they have a season ticket already, they can just pay for their meal. If for whatever reason they have some dietary concerns, they can bring in their own lunch. It is a cash-free facility, so you pay everything up front, they get an armband, and that gets sent to you.
I have a question.
I was just wondering, do each of the schools have a fund that they can utilize for the students who can't afford the ticket?
There is a fund at each of the schools, but Carpentersville Middle School is grant funded. I'm not sure exactly what the grant name is, but it is for community engagement, I believe. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a student would not be denied participation because they
Correct.
did not have the funds.
Thank you.
And that fee does not include transportation, and that is paid for out of the building fund.
Great, thank you. Anyone have anything else? Okay, thanks. Item 7.1, instructional and office supplies contract extension.
Yes, during the year, we look at the usage for all of our instructional materials and office supplies, and we create a market basket, which is your most purchased items. There's about 400 of them right now. We look at that, and they give us our deepest discount on those. And it's purchased off of the AMIA cooperative contract. And anything that is not on the market basket still gets the 35% off of the retail price. Classroom and office furniture is 14%. The overall pricing increased 2% over the 2024 pricing, which is lower than the CPI, which is 3.4. We're recommending a one-year contract through two school specialty from January 1st through December 31st, with an estimated contract amount of $127,59.72.
Great. Anyone have any questions on that? Okay, thank you. Item 7.7, general liability workers' compensation insurance contract extension.
It's that time of year when we bring to you the general liability workers' compensation insurance contract. We have been utilizing CLIC Property and Casual since 2016. Since 2016, our premiums have risen 13.2%, which is quite remarkable. They've expanded programs as things change, specifically like our cyber insurance. They have a great cyber insurance program that Mr. Hummel utilizes quite a bit to the fullest capacity. And I think we've utilized services that other districts have left on the table. We meet with them. Actually, we meet as a co-op. There's 191 school districts that are part of this co-op. I have a meeting tomorrow to talk about where our claims are at and also some additional programs that they may have to help reduce our risk. Right now, we are just asking for your approval to continue working with CLIC for our workers' compensation and general liability insurance. That renewal will actually come later on this year, and we will have it for our budget.
Great. Any comments on that? Questions? Okay, thank you. Item 7.8, FY24 annual comprehensive financial report acceptance.
I know we just met a little bit ago about this, but I would like to take a couple minutes just to highlight a few key areas. I'd be remiss without stating that our district has a very dedicated, talented, hardworking finance and operations staff that made this audit process run smoothly with great results. I want to publicly thank all the staff that have contributed to the process. It's a very tedious, detailed, and time-consuming process. I also thank the auditors that worked directly with us from Miller Cooper and Company. I appreciate your patience and assistance through the entire process. With that, I'm ecstatic to report that District 300 received the highest financial profile score, 3.8 out of 4.0. The financial profile designation is recognition. This seems to be a pattern as I go back and look at previous years. We're always hovering in that 3.8, 3.9 range, so it's nice to see that continue. Overall, the district ended the fiscal year with revenues exceeding expenditures, resulting in an end-of-year fund balance of $195.7 million. The district's operating funds balance policy recommends that our operating funds balance be at 30% of operating expenditures. We continue to maintain this, coming in at 31.8%. This is a slight increase over the last fiscal year of 31.3%. This is a huge area to celebrate. Through careful financial planning and budget management, the district has been able to consistently meet or beat the 30% threshold. accepting the annual comprehensive financial report for FY 23-24 as presented. I would also like to just take a minute to thank Jennifer Gordon for her leadership and direction through this entire process. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Does anyone have any comments on that? Okay, thank you so much. Item 7.9, 2024 levy and resolutions.
Yes, I'm not going to go through it in quite detail as I did last month. However, I do want to bring up that the fund balance for the operating, what is our minimum 30%, is attributed to the work that the board does do, as well as what our tax levy is, and that we do take what we can get. So again, we reside in 4 separate counties. We overestimate our request just to make sure that we capture everything and nothing is left on the table. When I presented earlier in November, we said that our actual rate last year was 5.05, and that includes our bond and interest. We are looking to ask for 5.13, which is a 7.7% increase. However, we are projected to receive 4.98 as our tax rate, which is amazing that we can do what we do and our tax rate continues to drop. When we look at how this impacts the taxpayer, we're looking at if a taxpayer had a value of home at $316,000 last year with an estimated 3.5% increase in market value on their home, their taxes would go up $115. And that is because of the market value increase. But however, you will see that our tax rate has dropped to 4.98. That's about 7 cents. When we look at a taxpayer who would have no market value change at 0, you would see that their taxes would decline by $69. For any percentage estimated that their market value would increase over the previous year, they would look at a $52, $53 increase. Again, I just wanted to share with everyone here with the work that we've done. Our tax rate has steadily declined since 2015, and we are currently projecting that we will be sitting at $5.3 million in EAV this upcoming year. We have placed our notice for a hearing at next Tuesday's board meeting, and at that meeting we will have the hearing and we'll vote on the adoption of the levy.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any comments on that? I've seen it a few times now, so I think that's why there's a lack of questions. Thank you again. Item 710, Westfield traffic study.
I'd like to introduce Rory. She is back from Kinley Horn. You guys met her earlier this year when we were talking about DMS's traffic study, and we're going to talk about Westfield's.
Yes. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here again. I'm going to breeze through this really quickly. Please feel free to interrupt me at any point, or I'm happy to take questions at the end. A quick overview, the work that we did at DMS and Westfield, the primary focus is to make sure we're providing for safe and efficient student drop-off and pickup. Unique to Westfield was to try to address the extensive queuing on Sleepy Hollow. Obviously being cognizant of staff parking needs and making sure that we're accommodating not only the supply but access to parking for staff in an efficient manner, and then also buses. The other thing to highlight is the work that we do. We're being cognizant of a future-proof plan, meaning that the plan will work today and then it will work in the future as enrollment evolves over time. So a quick orientation, the following slides, we've kind of broken the site up into 3 areas. The north parking lot, which predominantly serves middle school, drop-off pickup activity. The access, there's a single driveway to that lot, referred to throughout this presentation as north access. The east lot is staff parking. That is currently accessed via north access as well. And then South Lot is predominantly serving elementary student pickup drop-off activity that is accessed by a singular driveway referred to here as South Access. All bus activity for both elementary and middle school students occurs in the kind of circular area off of South Access. So that was just for purposes of orientation. So starting at the north side of the school, so our team was out on site on a typical school day, worked with the district and the school to identify a typical condition day, and observed traffic conditions during the morning and afternoon student drop-off and pickup periods. I'll say in the north lot, the predominant concern is related to vehicle conflicts. The parking lot, I'll say, is not intuitive. It's bidirectional. It creates a number of conflicts between vehicles. It also creates conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles. You have students that are dropped off curbside in the area highlighted in pink. You also have students that are exiting their vehicle throughout the parking lot because the queue is extensive, so they're trying to get out of the car and into the building as quickly as possible. The other thing that was noteworthy in both the morning and then in the next slide in the afternoon is the extensive queuing that's happening on Sleepy Hollow, meaning all of the vehicles are not accommodated on site. The parking lot is relatively small and the queue is relatively large, and so the queue is extensive. All of the vehicles can't be accommodated. This is largely driven by the exit and the lack of efficiency in drop-off. The exit, you currently have multiple lanes of traffic. I believe at certain points it's 3 to 4 lanes of traffic coming together, trying to get out via 2 lanes. And that creates a lot of confusion, conflicts, and delay. So the next slide highlights the PM, the afternoon drop-off. So what we do, I think what you saw in DMS and what is evident here is look at different alternatives, trying to be mindful of where do we have existing pavement and is there a different way to approach use of that? And then also looking at opportunities to modify pavement where needed. So the first option was to take it to reduce demand. Clearly the demand for the queue in the north lot exceeds the existing space. So one option would be to relocate 6th graders, pick up drop-off activity to the south lot. This would reduce the queue on Sleepy Hollow. However, there are some significant challenges associated with managing 6th graders walking through the building while elementary school students are in session. That would require significant staff needs. I think there's some safety considerations. And so this option is not preferred, but was evaluated as a low-cost option. Option 2 was to take a look at the parking lot to create a more intuitive circulation pattern, a one-way circulation pattern through revised striping, expanding the parking lot slightly to the east, page right, and minimize conflicts so that vehicles understand where they're supposed to go and again, reduce the number of times in the lot that cars are in conflict with each other. This does improve circulation through the parking lot. It does have a minimal increase in on-site queue capacity, so there are some benefits. However, notable is the negative impact to the on-site parking supply, which, based on our observations, is in high demand. And then the third option is what is recommended tonight. This is similar to the layout that was on the previous screen. It shows a one-way circulation pattern through angled parking and restriping of the lot, and it also shows expansion of the parking lot to the west. In this scenario, significant increase in on-site queue capacity is achieved. So that queue that's on Sleepy Hollow would be alleviated. That queue would occur on-site. Up to 68 cars, we believe, would be able to queue on-site, which would drastically improve existing conditions. This configuration also increases on-site parking supply, which is beneficial during typical operations as well as event conditions. Student pickup drop-off is not negatively impacted. You would still continue to load passenger side curb lane immediately north of the building. So this is a zoomed in version. I believe you also have a printed version in front of you. I'm happy to answer questions. This does require modification to the multi-use path on the west side of the parking lot currently. That path would be relocated further to the west. It would continue to tie into the campus, providing a defined crosswalk across the loading area similar to the current configuration. However, it would be relocated west to provide for additional parking and queuing on site. The other thing to note is in the center lane, the drive aisle that provides access to the loading area, we are suggesting removal of those parking spaces, again, to minimize conflicts in the parking lot. Currently, you have vehicles that park in those spaces, which then they're reversing into vehicles trying to exit the lot, which, again, decreases the efficiency of getting students in and out of school and creates conflicts, introducing potential for crashes.
Is that the track on the far left side?
Yes, that is the track,
Okay.
correct.
So am I to take it then that what this proposal does, no, go back to that, yeah. What this proposal does is there's now just a 3-foot margin between the road and the track?
Between the multi-use path
Yeah.
and the track.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
There is spacing between the parking
Yeah.
lot and active lane of traffic
Okay.
and the track, but you're correct.
Yeah.
The path would be relocated
Yeah.
adjacent to the track.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So then, are the cars queuing in all of the spots with the parking, or are they just coming around?
On the outer lane.
On the outer lane, okay.
Yes. And it's designed with a width that can accommodate a side-by-side 2-lane configuration, which would narrow to a singular lane as you approach the curbside. This is done effectively at a number of schools to increase your on-site queue capacity. It just provides some flexibility. It's not necessarily required. It'll be something that, will be on-site observing as is hopefully executed, and as needed, you could double load along that north drive aisle to provide additional on-site queue. But you're correct, it would only queue on the outside lane. The change to the internal parking rows is really to reduce conflict points in the parking lot and provide a more defined route pattern for vehicles.
Do we have any space? I know there's like a township yes, thank you. So how much of that is our property going across, so going to the east, that walking path, is that right at the edge of our? So we have no, I'm looking at, can we shift to Dr. Scarpino's
That's what I was
question?
We could also potentially remove that last row of parking and only lose 10 spots and still have more spots there.
You could also cone off that lane of traffic when the track is in use, that lane is not an active lane if there's concern about an errant vehicle.
Yeah, just, for those of us that have been to those types of events, track events, it seems a little on the tight side to have then possibly even spectators, around that spot, and God forbid. So, okay. So there is a little flexibility there. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like how close it's coming to the track.
Would you rather just see that last lane of parking spots removed and then?
Boy, I hate to give up,
Yeah.
to her point, right? We're tight in almost every school we've looked at.
We are, we could on event days, we could just turn it off, which we do. for other events.
Right. That gives the school personnel the ability to make those decisions and not just lose parking. Right. I like it.
Okay, so a quick next slide, we'll pivot to the east lot. The east lot, again, is the staff parking lot. This is closely tied to what's happening in the north lot based on our observations due to the congestion in the north lot and the conflicts at that exit point. It is at times difficult for staff to enter this parking lot. Extremely difficult. Not only are they in the queue on Sleepy Hollow, but they're in the congestion trying to make a left into their east lot in conflict with all of the cars trying to rush to the exit. And so the next slide, what we have suggested and are recommending is providing a second point of access to the south lot via the existing south access to Sleepy Hollow. So this would require some minor extension of the existing parking lot. You would pick up 18 parking spaces, which again, parking demand is high in this school location, and additional parking is desired by the school. So you have the benefit of additional parking, and you have the benefit of an alternate access that could be used by staff during times when the north access is congested. And then moving to the south lot, based on our observations, generally speaking, in the morning, the queue is accommodated on site. There is a need for parking. We did observe vehicles parked in the grass during the morning drop-off period. And we did observe a number of vehicles during middle school drop-off. We're trying to avoid north access, using south access and doing a quick U-turn in front of the bus lane. We also observed parents dropping off elementary students using the same movement. So kind of immediately south of the east lot, the staff parking lot, parents just dropping off curbside right there in an active lane of traffic and making a U-turn. In the afternoon, the queue does approach Sleepy Hollow on the next slide. It does approach Sleepy Hollow. The queue is about 20 vehicles. I would say the internal intersection for inbound student pickup and the outbound bus lane functions well. It's a three-leg intersection. I know the school expressed some concern about conflicts and queue spillback blocking the ability for buses to exit. While we were on site, we did not observe that, but it very likely happens. I have no doubt in my mind as parents are trying to pick up their student and move on with their day. So to create some more efficiency in the south lot, address potential queuing as enrollment continues to evolve, we did evaluate different alternatives for the south lot. Option one is to provide additional parking, extend the parking lot to the south. This also does provide for additional queue space curbside. While the queue is accommodated on site today, the challenge is there's a limited area where the students are actually getting in and out of the vehicle, which just limits the efficiency of the pickup drop-off activity. Under this scenario, there's no impact to the existing ball fields, and there is a significant increase in the parking supply. However, as a transportation planner who works with traffic engineers, the intersection configuration is atypical. We would expect that it would create some challenges with that curve that's shown. So less than desirable in our professional opinion. The next slide extends the parking lot west, again, to increase the parking supply and increase the curb lane drop-off pickup activity space. In this scenario, there would be an impact to the ball fields. It does increase the parking supply. It does achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve, but there is a significant impact to the ball fields. Obviously, that comes with a significant cost. And then in the final option, which is our recommended option, option 3, we would recommend extending the curb lane south, so kind of on the west side, I should say. So extend the sidewalk and curb to the west and wrap it around the parking lot, provide additional parking on that south row. That could be reserved or allocated for staff parking, low turnover spaces, so it's not in conflict with the outbound traffic lane. There's no impact to the ball fields. This does provide for additional queue space. The adjacent to the curb for students to enter and exit the vehicle, and then significant benefit on the parking side. So what we also evaluated was the potential driveway connection to the residential development to the west. And so with the preferred parking lot layout, option 3, this exhibit shows the driveway connection to the west. It shows the appropriate spacing distance from the ball field. It shows the tie-in connection with the residential development where they have reserved the potential to connect to the school property. This is all of the curbs are compliant with typical roadway design standards, and the benefit is you end up with a 4-leg intersection on campus at the parking lot and bus where the two meet. The benefits, the next slide kind of highlights what we did was we took a look at, based on what our observations of traffic conditions today at the school and the potential for the connection to the west, what benefit does this provide for Westfield and the district? We believe it provides a significant traffic benefit. It is expected to remove at least 100 daily vehicles on Sleepy Hollow, which I think anyone who's been out there, that is a heavily traveled roadway. Traffic volumes only expected to increase with Long Meadow Parkway opening. This also provides a significant benefit for Q. What we took a look at is with the village's projection of students from the residential development to the west, what impact might that have on the queues observed at Westfield, particularly for that south lot? And that queue is expected to grow as your enrollment increases, your queue would increase, and your queue would spill back to Sleepy Hollow. And so this provides an alternate route for the new subdivision, Algonquin Meadows. It also provides an alternate route with the existing residential subdivision to the north, Willoughby Farms. So again, that queue that is currently on Sleepy Hollow would be alleviated with this road connection, because you would take some of the traffic from Willoughby Farms that is currently in that queue and it would be redirected to this driveway connection. We also see a strong benefit providing a multi-use path with this connection. The multi-use path provides a walk route for students directly connecting to their neighborhood. The total cost estimate on the screen, just under 2.5, is cumulative for all of the recommended options that were presented this evening or this afternoon. And I don't know, John, if you want to touch on anything further.
Any other questions on the options for Lori?
John, for this one right here, the slide that's up now, it's now winter time. We have buku snow out there and everything. Talk about what new challenges will be with us.
I think the reconstruction of the parking lot on the north will help us in our snow removal. The way it's set up right now is very difficult with the islands. Those islands would be removed and it would just be flat asphalt striped. It's kind of a nightmare for our team to get in there. The parking lot has also seen significant wear and tear over the 30 years it's been there now. If you've ever been over there, we've had to raise some of the storm drains because they've sunk and shifted, creating a dip and also issues with getting a plow down in that and trying to get that out. Obviously, if we did decide to add a south driveway or path, there would be an extension of services there to clean that path and to clean that the roadway, the access road. We do have a sidewalk team that has a bigger piece of equipment with a plow and a snow blower on an attachment that can just whip right through that sidewalk with no problem.
Thank you.
Could you go back to the slide where it showed the south part of the, yeah, right, that was fine. So if that proposed new road goes through, I know we have to discuss that, and when we walk through, I shared my concern about that. I see that you've now, looks like 200 feet to the end of that ball field.
Correct.
Okay, so we know that limits our use and our rental opportunities to younger children, but even at a younger age, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, 200 feet were good there for Little League.
They prefer 225 at least.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is you're only going to do Little League there. So the travel people that have rented it in the past would not be any longer interested.
They
Is that,
can move to the north lot, they usually use that south lot.
okay,
The northern lot is usually the smaller kids.
okay. But more important than that, I think, seeing how tight that is, I think we have to further discuss than having a fence there, because it hasn't had a fence for the ball field and safety of the players, as well as the walking path to that street.
Correct, we would do something similar to Meadowdale along that access road there, where that fence is, that outfield is fenced in, so that you'd have a barrier there for protection.
Okay, great.
And John, correct me if I'm wrong. The intent is that this is a private driveway, gated, and only open for school pickup, drop-off, or as the district sees fit. So it's very likely that during a ball game, that road would be closed.
Right, thank you. How does this affect, and I don't even know what the current administration, but past administration had talked about putting some soccer area in that area that we're now showing the wraparound.
Down where the access is, or down farther east?
So it would be,
Where you would tie in?
yes,
You can still do that.
Okay.
The one issue in that area is that it is our retention pond.
right,
So when we get heavy rain, I mean, that turns into a
gets wet,
lake for a
right,
while, yeah.
right,
That would be the issue. That-
okay,
The football teams, they use all the way down almost to that road.
mm-hmm, okay, thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah, good.
On the developer's plan here, they have a connection going into Cosman Way, which is the road that's already exists, that is just south of where the new road you're proposing would go in. Why don't we just use that?
I think that was in the original concept plan. It's not in the final plan,
Was,
as far as I was told.
Where are you referring to, Nancy? I'm not following
this
you.
one is, this one, okay, this is, it's down here. Cosman is,
Okay,
the planned road would be okay. So, I mean, I found this online, but it's dated, I think it's 8/1/23.
Yeah, I know that Karen told us that wasn't gonna happen, that it was coming into that one, that they weren't.
We can definitely have a conversation.
I mean, do you know why? Why did they have this and they changed it?
I don't know.
We can get that information back from you, and we can actually bring this back in January. We wanted to bring this as a kind of a blush
Yeah.
to kind of share with you guys, so you had time to digest this and bring some additional questions back if you had.
Okay, and then you said the total cost was the 2.4 million is for everything, including this extra road.
Correct, and the estimated impact fees from the development are between $715,000 and $830,000.
and with the village cost in that, with share of the cost in that,
On the road on our property?
Yeah.
No, our impact fees would go towards
that would be it?
That would be ours, that would be constructed using, under our authority and our command, I guess.
Okay.
Could we get a breakdown of the like not just the lump cost, but like what is going to each lot and then what is going to this road? So we could look at the parts. You know, it's nice to see the whole number, but let's,
I'm confused if the estimate includes the road, because it says
It does.
possible
It
road.
does, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the cost of
Okay,
That's for all 3 lots and the potential road.
And those are based on the recommended ones of each of those.
And I guess I'm a little confused. That new road then, is that going to be meant for diverting bus traffic that would otherwise, I mean, pretend that development's not there. Would that be, existing bus traffic would be diverted that way to come in, or?
For some that come from that direction, yes, which would cut down on cut down on traffic coming in there, off of Sleepy Hollow.
Off of Sleepy Hollow? So they would have to go down Long Meadow and then go north on Long Meadow to come?
Yeah, if the buses are coming that direction, we wouldn't send them, if they're coming from the north, we wouldn't send them all the way around, but
Right.
That would be a question for Deb Mason. I know that it would be looked at as potential for redirection for us.
And is this anticipating you mentioned just about just increased traffic on Long Meadow, and then we would have to maybe start busing kids from south of Long Meadow that would normally not be bused because of the increased traffic?
I'm not sure I've not been able to have this conversation.
Okay.
As far as that's.
Okay.
Did you hear that last question?
I did not, I'm sorry.
Does that take into consideration? Does that take into consideration when, like, traffic on Long Meadow is already starting to pick up, and there's a lot of truck traffic, and it's getting, in my opinion, for kids walking across the street, kind of dangerous. But it's gonna just keep getting more and more. And so with this new road that we're talking about maybe putting in on our property, is that meant to take on any bus traffic that might come from south of Long Meadow, where now those kids are walking or, within walking distance? They might have to be bused because of the traffic that's on Long Meadow?
That does not take into consideration the bus traffic.
Okay.
And if you wish, we have done a study on Long Meadow as far as with it opening. We would be happy to bring that back to a meeting and just have that discussion.
Yeah. I mean, especially in this
presentation.
context,
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone have any other questions or comments on the initial options? Okay, thank you. Item 7.11, Recreation Drive.
Following previous discussions, we again recommend action on a collaborative project with the Village of West Dundee, Dundee Township Park District, and developer Lennar to extend Recreation Drive through the new development east of Dundee Middle School. This extension would enhance school accessibility and functionality, serving as potential drop-off and pickup locations for bus and car riders, providing a critical route also for emergency vehicles, and creating additional entry and exit point to improve flexibility and safety for students, staff, and visitors. Since the item was last presented, the Dundee Township Park District Board has met and voted to proceed with this project as a partner, committing up to $205,000 towards the project with safety requirements to be included. We request board approval to create an intergovernmental agreement to share total costs with District 300's portion not exceeding $205,000 funded through fees generated by development in West Dundee. Our official recommendation would be to request board approval to create this agreement, share the cost with the portion not exceeding $205,000 funded through the fees, and then also other district funds.
Nancy, do you have?
I just have, so what exactly is our, what impact fees are we going to be giving up for this? What's the number on that? Do we remember? Because I've seen a couple different numbers.
The impact fees, I believe the last time I saw them was $116,000.
Okay. My concern about this is, I mean, we started out at this costing us $115,000, which was just giving up our impact fees. And over the last year or so, the original estimate was $500,000 on the top end. There was a range, and the top end was 500 and something thousand, and now we're at almost 800,000. And then I've seen and then before the most recent, there was a letter that came to us in October, I think the 3rd, where it estimated that we were going to have to pay almost like $279,000, and then it was backed off on. And I'm concerned about the fact that these numbers have gone back and forth and have changed so considerably over the last year. There is a estimate that's included in some of this stuff that looks like it was originally said it was dated December of '23 and then revised in October of '24. I would like to see what the original evaluation was, because it went, back in December of '23, I think is when we were talking about $500,000, and now it went up to $769,000 or whatever it is.
Jen, can you speak to the cost difference from the beginning to now?
The cost difference, I would say is due to the time difference. As far as when the project initially came online. I don't have a copy of the original one, so I don't want to definitely say that is this particular reason. John, do you recall?
Yeah, some of it is also that in the beginning, when Lennar had all their equipment out there, they had design, they had, people on the ground ready to go. Some of that increases because now they have to reassemble everything and bring everything back out for this project.
Color me skeptical. I'm a little skeptical. It's, now also, what we were told is that the, at least verbal agreement between the Park District and the project, the development, does not include safety measures. And I'd like to know what those safety measures that are to be included are about.
Yeah, some of those that we can request in our, in the motion that we make are, I believe some that were in the Park District were berms, safety guardrails, and/or fences. So we can add to our motion safety guidelines we want as we go through the intergovernmental agreement process.
So when you say berms, what do you mean? I mean, I know what a berm is, but where would they be placed?
They would be placed, and I don't know if a berm would work in that situation.
Right.
On that, it is definitely closer on the track. It would probably be more like a safety guardrail or a fence that we would request. A berm would just give us some kind of raise in the ground just to protect from a car going over there or a vehicle gaining access.
Because it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of room between that proposed road and the track.
Correct. There's right now from the edge of the gravel road to our track, it's about 29 feet, which would shorten with the construction of a full service road there. But there's also, we're close at Meadowdale to our playground with that access road. And we would just recommend putting in the initial deterrents as far as safety guardrails or chain link fences.
So if we request these, considering that the number we were given, the current number that we were given, the 205,000 or whatever, does not include any of the safety measures we were just talking about.
That's correct.
Okay, so if we request those, are they going to say, sure, if you want to pay for it?
That would have to be part of the creating the intergovernmental agreement.
Okay, is there an actual governmental agreement that's out there yet?
We don't have
No,
one,
because we haven't taken a vote on if we can
Right,
do
but
it
I
or
mean,
not.
They voted the other day at the Park District.
They're waiting for us.
They're waiting for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd have to see a lot of detail on an actual agreement before I would vote either way on this, honestly. I'm all for the changes that we are proposing to make at the school itself, the traffic flow and things like that. I'm definitely for that. But honestly, I don't really agree that I think that this extra road is gonna make a huge difference for us. And I think it has a lot of issues, safety issues and things like that, that actually I kind of go against any possible benefit we might have.
Yeah, I share concerns about the proximity to the track and this road. I went out and walked and looked at it over the weekend, and it gives me pause to think about, this is not a road that's being just used for buses. This is a road that the public can use, that will be riding right by students who are out on the track for PE and for other sports. So I share that concern, as well as you mentioned, Nancy, that it wasn't part of our best option for fixing the traffic situation at DMS. We can do that. We can fix that traffic situation without spending that money, and we could use that money, those impact fees, toward, essentially towards fixing the real problem there, in my opinion. But I do agree. I'd like more information about to relieve my concern about the safety first and foremost. Currently there's not enough information to relieve that for me.
I'd like to, I see Chuck Bombalis in the audience. Chuck, you and I have worked together for 20-some years, yes, you. We also utilize your services, like when we do boundaries and you talk to the different agencies and everything. I'd just like to hear from you about this. I mean, you've been to many of the meetings. If you could just give me your feedback, step on up to the podium, please. I really like to hear from you.
Hi. Hi. I think it's something that we've talked about for 20-plus years. I'm not positive when I look at option 1C or wherever that one is where you're going to solve the problem on site. I'm not too sure how all of that queuing on 72 comes off onto our property and solves that problem. That's where my big questions are, is how does that solve the entire queuing issue that we have? Whenever you get the school district, the park district, a village, and a developer, all four of them, to agree to something, that's a big deal. And it doesn't happen very often. Didn't happen very often in my experiences with the school district. And it's a tremendous benefit. I also take a look at this long term. When we looked at some of the information from Mr. Hummel a month or two ago, I think it might have been at the last meeting, one of the red schools where we talk about where we might have long-term issues is still Dundee Middle School. With some potential growth still coming, and especially not having the room at Hampshire Middle that we probably need, and taking a look at how do we balance some of that. And the idea that traffic is ever going to get lower, volumes of traffic will get lower at Dundee Middle, doesn't seem like it's a really good reality. I know that we've talked about controlling that access to Recreation Drive. And if that access is controlled, whether it's through a gate, whether it's through whatever mechanisms that you decide to utilize, much like what you just looked at Westfield, those opportunities to utilize that road, whether it be right now or it be in the future, there are just so many times that you get to kind of pre-plan for your future and take a look at what your future might hold for you. This is one of those opportunities. The $200,000 price tag, and even if there were some safety measures that you added for another $20,000, $30,000, whether it was guardrails or whatever, and I'm making up a number, I don't know what that number would be, you're still less than what Kimley Horn told us for the simple drive that they had, said was the $250,000 if it was just the school district participating, but that was just a simple road, that was no lighting, that was no upgrades, that was no nothing else. This is a full service road that will last us into, as a school system, in the future. It then gets taken over by the village of West Dundee, and they take care of it. It becomes their responsibility down the road. It is not something that the school district then would be responsible for. So even though if it's not fleshed out exactly, it just seems to me like an excellent opportunity for a long-term view of what our opportunities might be to control traffic at Dundee Middle School. So just off the top of my head.
I do just want to say,
thoughts.
just with some points that Chuck made and validating the safety point and knowing that we need to review that, I do think that the partnership here is the key piece for me in future thinking.
So,
Both of those, especially with the developer and the village and the park district. I mean, we had great things that we've done individually with them, but to get everybody together, and ironically, it happens to be the same developer that we're going to be working with at Westfield Community School.
So, Chuck, if I could just follow up. Back when you were in the position similar to Mr. Mickle, right? I remember visiting schools with you, and there are a couple times, and I can't remember exactly the situation, where I remember you saying, I wish we would have done that. And it was usually related to something that would have been a partnership with us, with another partner. In this case, you led with that. You talked about being a partner and the opportunity for us to partner with 3 or 4 other entities.
Correct.
That it was good for several of us.
Yeah, it's something that we've seen in the past, and sometimes our circumstances were different. Sure. We weren't maybe flush with cash. Maybe we didn't have, we were living in a
For
different.
25 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Really?
We're living a very,
I've
very
lived
different.
through that with you, and I know when we were and we're not flush. and-
Exactly.
So
I
why haven't we
understand.
done it before? Because of that only reason?
No, there were, and sometimes the politics of it didn't work out because of whether it be one entity or another couldn't quite get over the hump and say, yes, we're ready to go, and
Do you believe that this road is not going to have any benefit whatsoever to the development?
I don't have any idea. I don't know if they would benefit. I don't know that development well enough, the new one that's going in. Is that your question?
Right now, it's only, people can only come in and leave on 72,
Correct.
and the traffic there is just abysmal.
Whenever you are.
So this would
And-
benefit them just as
And the
much as
upside
it
end
would
of that is
benefit the
it's
rest of
also-
us.
It's also very nice to see that that developer is engaging.
No, they're not. They're not putting a dime into this.
What's that?
They're not putting any money into this. When did they decide to actually put money into it? We've heard, have indicated, but I haven't seen anything solid that says they're putting $165,000 into this.
Once again, you're asking,
I'm just saying.
I
it's
just sit at meetings.
No, I'm just saying.
You're asking
that
the wrong
it's-
guy on that one.
It
Yeah.
benefits them, if not as much, probably more on a daily basis than it's gonna benefit either us or the Park District.
Well, we're making comments to Mr. Bombalis.
I
Is
know.
there anything else that we
Yeah,
need from
yeah,
him?
that's-
You called him,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Scarpino.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
You know what, I'm going to stop right now because we have a board meeting in like 9 minutes. So I appreciate your comments. I wanted to hear from you.
It's at 6.
At 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was 5, that clock.
No.
I'm not seeing the clock correctly.
Clock is right there.
I know,
We
I
have,
didn't
we have
see- I thought
9
that
minutes.
was down.
So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I, one of the things that we would like to ask is for the board's recommendation or their vote to move forward with just this topic. This doesn't, we still have to go through an IGA with the different partners. So at that time, we'd still have to approve that IGA, but this is moving it to the next step.
So are you looking for the board's approval to move forward to an intergovernmental agreement that doesn't necessarily say that we're going to sign anything to go ahead with the project? Is that correct?
That is what we were saying, that we would do a
Okay.
commitment of up to $205,000. We need to draft the IGA and then bring it to the board for agreement.
We'll bring the first vote to next Tuesday's board meeting, correct?
Is that the plan?
All right, we'll move on to item 7.13, master facility plan update.
Kelsey's going to provide us a brief update about the surveys. And she knows she's under time.
Yes. I'll go quick. So we'll skip this master facility plan slide then. It's just a basic overview is what I was going to talk about. I want to let you know that you guys had a total of 10,820 respondents of your surveys, and they were all quite high quality survey responses. Each one of the surveys had a minimally 3 open-ended answer questions that people were able to respond and really provide their feedback in all of those. So thank you as well for hopefully being a part of that process and answering the community one. For highlights on them, what we learned from the student survey highlights are that the classrooms are some of their favorite spaces, but were also identified it as a place that could use improvement. School layout is super important to the students, and that was for lower grades as well as older grades. And having that ability to navigate their schools. And they also, though, felt that they were highly aware of their spaces, such as hallways, feeling crowded at times during the days. They wanted, in 2 of the 3 open-ended questions, students noted that general updates to buildings are opportunities for improvement in their facilities. And in an open-ended question, they indicated that they are aware of the need to have spaces for collaboration and socialization. So again, that was an open-ended question that was expressed to have a need for.
Next slide.
Yes, thank you. As well as in the student survey. In the staff survey, we received answers from all of the schools. In the staff survey, we also received answers from people in district office. Predominantly general curriculum educators were our largest respondent, but that is also your largest population of employees. For what we learned from the staff surveys were two really big things that we do recognize as well, is that space is needed. You need space. They felt that there was not adequate space at times, and that it was also identified as being a challenge at some of the schools and an item that would make D300 schools feel more equitable with one another. I will say as well that the educators, admin, and staff were identified in all three surveys as being one of the greatest strengths at District 300. So pretty great there. It did not come off as a boastful thing in the staff survey as, yay, we do good, but more came across as we love working with our colleagues and working together for common goals. For the community survey, almost an 80-20 split of parents and guardians versus non-parents and guardians. So having that number of non-parents is excellent to be able to have reached that many people. Each questions as well, based off of if you responded, if you were or were not a parent or guardian, the questions then were divided into different groups that were differently phased whether or not you had a student. Those community survey highlights on the next slide. One of the biggest takeaways is that exploratory classes were felt as being super important, especially including CTE pathway classes. Electricity and welding specifically, and woodshop were brought up multiple times. Multiple times. A biggest challenge is meeting those evolving student needs and behavior. So there was recognition that students now need different accommodations than students of the past. They also recognize that they need more space, and it was one of the top answers to questions asking what could be implemented and what could improve D300 schools. And then again, community engagement was super great, especially with having very high quality answers and respondents. So at the next steps, we are reviewing data to inform the space needs. So then that way, which will identify priority areas for improvement, which includes compiling data from all phases to inform future opportunities, which will then help to inform and identify funding sources. So with speeding through that, are there any questions? Awesome.
No, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And the last one is our construction update. It's in the packet.
Okay.
But there really is nothing mentionable except bids will be coming through next month.
All right, great. So with that, announcement is that our next Operations Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 14th at 4:30. Wow, 2025, next meeting. Thank you, everyone. With that, we're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Board members, why don't we take a comfort break and then come right back and start our meeting, okay? Comfort break, please.